explore racism and its impact on birth outcomes. To hear this powerful podcast, go to blackinfanthealth.org and be educated and motivated to action. That's blackinfanthealth.org to hear this podcast series and find the nearest BIH office near you, because Black mothers and Black babies deserve the very best.
Hosting an online viewing party to watch the NBA playoffs. But if your slow upload speeds were to make you sound like an evil robot...
Come on, get the rebound.
Whoa, who is that?
I'm sorry.
You're not an evil robot. You just need better internet. AT&T Fiber delivers a faster internet experience with 25 times faster upload speeds than cable. Visit att.com/25 times faster.
Limited availability in select areas based on Internet 1000 wired upload connection speed versus major cable providers. 1 gig service with uploads of 35 megabits per second. Restrictions apply.
Team USA is training hard and ready for the Olympic Games. And so is Jacob.
Whoa! I've got my lucky shirt and Xfinity Flex.
Oh yeah, Jacob's family got Xfinity Internet with Wi-Fi speeds faster than a gig. And a Flex 4K streaming box free. Plus Peacock Premium included. So Jacob is ready for anything.
Go Team USA!
With the best of the Olympics and top streaming apps, it's all of Jacob's favorites in one place. Entertainment starts at free with Flex, included with Xfinity Internet.
Get started with Xfinity Internet for only $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 1-year agreement. And get a Flex 4K streaming box free. Plus, ask about Wi-Fi speeds faster than a gig. Offer ends September 30th. So go online, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay. Restrictions apply. New Performance Starter Plus customers only. Equipment taxes and fees extra and subject to change. After term, regular rates apply. Gig speed Wi-Fi requires gigabit internet and compatible X-Fi gateway. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Peacock subscription required.
Xfinity, proud partner of Team USA.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys all around the country, in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful. It is July the 27th, 2021, Cuando Deportes, Cuando Vici. I'm learning Spanish and a lot of other things. I'm even going to learn some French. I have a great guest today on. His name is Claude Poissant, but I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he will do his thing sometimes, and sometimes he won't. It's all fair in love and war, but I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be looking at a still picture. Man, I love doing the pause. I will never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Anyone going through a crisis, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And you can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the first place San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this country to help put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships are doing it. Sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. When you need a loan, don't just be sure, be rocket sure. It's all fair in love and war. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and just say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. Today's show is also sponsored by the Budweiser Zero. It is 0% alcohol, 100% on your game. It's all fair and level. I have a great guest. I met this gentleman a couple years ago. I've invited him to some of our sports events in Northern California. His name is Claude Poisson. I'm working on my French, so Claude, if I pronounce your name the wrong way, I do apologize, Claude Poisson. And he's done a great thing. He's actually helping people with that Olympic spirit. He's helping people who've been kind of behind the eight ball, if that makes sense to you. He has a movie called Victory by Submission, and he's worked with a lot of professional athletes and also mayors of cities, and he has a project that's going all over the world. And I want to introduce Claude. This is Charlton with Big C Sports. Thank you for coming on. And how are you doing today, young man?
Oh, I'm fine, Charlton. Good to hear your voice, and thank you for having me on Big C Sport Podcast. I enjoy the program, and I love that you're worldwide because I'm presently in Tennessee, and I still get to be entertained by your program. I appreciate it.
Well,
appreciate you having me on.
I thank you. Tennessee is a beautiful, beautiful state, and I really appreciate you following Big C Sports Podcast. But I want you know, we're in the Olympic spirit right now. We're having the Olympics over in Japan. We just had some people who were involved with the Olympics on yesterday's program. But I want to talk about the Olympic champion that you are, because you're like an Olympian in itself. You're always championing for people who are trying to win in life. So if you can, tell our audience what you're doing with this great movie called Victory by Submission. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, Victory by Submission is a film that was conceptualized and written and directed by Alan Autry. Some of you may remember him as a former actor, played Bubba the Sheriff in the long-running series In the Heat of the Night.
Yeah.
And prior to that, his name was Carlos Brown, and he was a quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
So once and then he became mayor of Fresno for 2 terms back in the day when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor.
Yeah.
So after that, he decided he wanted to do some acting and get in that, but he wanted to also serve the Lord with his mission. So
Yeah.
he wrote this movie, and the backdrop is MMA fighting.
Yeah.
And the whole premise is that if you want to be a champion, you kind of got to do what God wants you to do. You got to be a better husband. You got to be a better father. You got to forgive people, and you got to forgive, especially those who you don't want to forgive.
Yeah.
And you got to show caring and love for people. So I did this movie, and it was great. We have some athletes in there that some of you may recognize, like Alan, like I said, was a quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
There's another role in the NFL that was in there, and it's Fred Williamson. Some of you might remember him as the Hammer.
Yep, the Hammer.
He played for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
And he was actually in Super Bowl I.
Wow. And Super Bowl I, and now Kansas City's been in our last 2 Super Bowls. And you talked about Alan Autry, who played football also. Fred, the Hammer. I'm glad he never hammered me. You didn't have the unfortunate of being hammered by the great Fred. Your thoughts?
No, I wasn't hammered, but I was charmed because the man is an absolute treasure.
Yeah.
But and also in the fight scenes, we didn't have any stunt guys.
Yeah.
So the fight scenes are real, and they're MMA, and actually. One of the characters is Josh Thompson, who's an actual MMA fighter, and I understand he's a commentator on Bellator now.
Wow.
And the antagonist, the guy who plays the bad guy in the fight ring, he's Mr. Olson, who basically was a strike force fighter.
Wow, that's amazing.
So these guys were a little bit bruised and sore after every, and they were hoping that they'd get the scenes right so they wouldn't have to repeat it.
Yeah, it's all fair in level war. Sometimes you don't want to get it right the first time, and not on the 28th take. It's all fair in level war. Claude, tell the audience about you, your background, what you do as far as outside of the making of a movie. You also have, any sports athleticism in your background. What can people know about you as they're going to watch this movie? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, I grew up in Canada. That's the kind of funny name. It's Claude Poisson, so I was I'm French-Canadian in origin.
Yes.
So I grew up naturally with skates on, and kind of grew up with skating. But actually, I veered towards, believe it or not, of all sports, I veered towards rugby. And I played, in my adult life, I played 7 years of rugby until the realization of not wearing any equipment caught up to me, and after I cracked myself for the second time this season, I kind of thought that maybe I should hang it up.
Yep.
But I'm still very active in sports. I love to coach kids in small programs and at churches. And I think that being in sports is much like being any type of organized structure, in that it gives you what you need to grow up to be a better human being, a better person in society, and somebody who will want to have values in their life and share those values with others.
You know, that's beautiful said, because everybody with the Olympic spirit right now, we had August Wesley on, who's done a great job all of his life, 25 years coaching and being an Olympian. And I want to ask you this thinking, because you just said something earlier, and I want to lead you into this movie. My whole passion is I love sports. I mean, it's $1 billion industry. I want to bring people together. God has blessed my life tremendously, and I want to be Jesus said, if you love me, feed my sheep. He didn't say, if you love me, feed myself. He said, feed my sheep. And so go into what you're doing, how this movie came to fruition, because I know you've been talking about it for some time, and then if you don't mind sharing that story, how it came to fruition, go right ahead.
No, Charleston, one of the things that I love about you is that you always bring in our creator into the conversation, and it's always a joy to fellowship with you. Let me tell you how this occurred. Alan and I met because I was a businessman. I was in cardiac medicine before, and he was a mayor. And I thought he was a scummy politician. He thought I was just a businessman. We met, and my last name means fish in French. And basically, my wife had my business card, which is with the Greek symbol for Christ, which is a fish.
Yes.
And the symbol was on my card to identify my Savior and also my last name. And he looked at me and said, "Are you a Christian?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he had finished wrapping up the film.
Yeah.
And then I spoke those fateful words that you got to be cautious of. I said, "Do you need any help?" And of course,
we all need help.
Me up on it.
Yep.
And I tell you the truth, guys, I don't know which end of the camera to look in. So how I wound up in this scenario is just by the grace of God. You know, He chooses the simple to shame the wise, and He chooses the weak to shame the strong, as it says in Corinthians. So. Basically, I went and got some songs. We got Christian songs by Micah Tyler. We got Bethel. We got great songs in the movie. And started doing this. And what happened is we showed it at a couple of churches to try to get some feedback from the audience.
Right.
We saw a lot of people coming to the churches. Well, lo and behold, I said to Alan, I said, wow, this is a great opportunity to get people back to Christ and to church. So I formed a company called Church First Films. And we took the film under our wing and basically started showing it to churches. And more than that, we were giving back half the proceeds to the churches and schools.
Wow.
And it was going great. And then, like everything else that had happened in the world, COVID put an abrupt end to that.
Yeah.
So we thought we were finished. We ran out of money, so we gave it our best shot. It was just, pleasure serving God for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And then last year, around December, my wife gets an erroneous phone call from a girl who had been on the production crew. And she was trying to call her friend Deborah in San Diego, but she accidentally called my wife Deborah. She says, "How's Chloe doing?" She said, "Well, the movie's done."
Yep.
And she said, "Well, this guy might be able to put you on streaming." So I called this, and one thing left to another, and this big streaming guy who's got 3,000 movies under his wing liked the film, and he got us on platforms that we don't even belong on. We're on Prime, we're on Direct, we're on Dish, we're on Verizon, we're on Google, we're on YouTube TV. We're on pretty much every major platform. So if you go to any platform and go to the search icon and put in Victor by Submission, boom, our film is there.
Yep.
But and which is great. So it gets the word out. But my heart soared 2-3 weeks ago when we found out that the censor board for the American prison system, they have to be careful about what they show the inmates because they don't want to create strife in the prison. So these poor guys are just watching mostly rom-coms, which is not bad, but after a while it must get a little boring.
Right.
And so they actually chose our film, and even though it's got an MMA backdrop, they like the message so much that it's going to be made available in 3,500 prisons to a population of somewhere around 2 million inmates, which,
that's amazing.
I mean, just makes my heart just full.
Yeah.
And and then what we're trying to do now is we're trying to get it into juvie halls So if there's anybody out there who has some in with that, please give me a call.
Yes.
And we're also trying to, when I read this, the next day he put Matthew 25 in front of me, and it said, you fed me when I was hungry, you clothed me when I was naked, and you visited me in prison. I said, oh,
wow.
Lord, maybe that's what you want us to do. So we're trying to go into prisons and give our testimony.
Yes.
Tell everybody that, hey, we're all broken, all of us alike, and we all need the grace of God to get out of here so that he can get us to our moment of glorification after this life is done.
Amen.
So we're working on that diligently, and it's a pleasure serving God. The benefits are outstanding, as we all know, Charles.
Yes.
And
yes.
I get to meet guys like you, and I get to meet people throughout the world, and they're telling me their great stories of how God has interacted in their life, and it's just wonderful to see his magnificence and his wonder at work. I have a front row seat to miracles all the time. There have been so many obstacles that have been removed that only he could have removed to get this film to where it's at now. So I encourage everybody to support it. Once we're done with the United States,
yes.
which is about another year, we will take this to hopefully Central South America, Asia, and Europe. And what the objective is, we're going to take it to those who want to see it, who need to see it, who can get a good message out of it, but
yes.
those who cannot afford, and then we will give it to them for free, just so that they get the good message that's out there.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. I've always gotten a great deal out of meeting new people, and it's this whole new thing with Big C Sports Podcast. I love having the chance to edify other people. And we live in a world where people want to be mean and nasty. And sometimes I'm even part of that, and I have to chastise myself about it, like looking the man in the mirror. I have a friend that also makes movies. It's called Mirror Mirror. A friend of mine and I were talking about that, manifesting $6 billion. And now I had Disney Corporation on just the other day, and then the Olympics. So Big C Sports Podcast is going all over the world by the grace of God. And there are a lot of great things coming. But I want to ask you one more thing before we close out. I know you're in Tennessee. So I would ask you to send me something that's alcohol-free, if that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know if that's even possible, but I just want to put that carrot in the back of your head. If people want to know more about what they can do, I know you're on a lot of platforms, and hopefully with Big C Sports Podcast, we'll get you out there also, letting more people know about what you're doing with Victory by Submission. You mentioned Alan Autry. I remember him in the heat of the night, and then Fred the Hammer also, of course. But if you can just leave one more footnote, how can people reach what you're doing? How can people find you on the internet going forward watching this movie? Go right ahead, Claude.
Well, I forgot one athlete, and that's Lee Majors, if you remember him. That's
$6 million man.
So,
yes.
So he's actually there. But if people want to reach out, they can go to churchfirstfilms.com. And if you want to look for the movie, just Google it, Victory by Submission, and you'll see the trailer right there, or you can see the trailer at churchfirstfilms.com. And you can reach out to me, at 800-242-7058. That's 800-242-7058. Call me directly. I would love to, if nothing else, to fellowship with you and talk to you about what's going on in the world. And if you have any ideas, thoughts, and please keep us in prayers, because we know that he always leaves his prayers, never leaves them unanswered, and he's always answering them. So we can use everybody's prayers, and those are very, very welcome. So if you want to talk to me, I'm here. I'll be happy to talk to you.
Well, Claude, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always been a pleasure meeting with you, praying with you about many things. And I wish you the very best. You have that ability to go out and reach people and feed people's spirit. And that's what people need. Of course, we want to know who won the game, who won the Olympics, who's going to get the gold or the silver or the bronze. But everybody gets to win whenever they reach out to people who care about others, and you've always been that. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause. Claude, I really appreciate you being on the show. I wish you nothing but the best. The movie is called Victory by Submission. You heard him here on Big C Sports Podcast. We'll take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. I always want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like God said in Genesis 1:3. Let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic sometimes, and sometimes I won't, but it's all fair in love and war. I want to say hello to everyone all over the universe. Thank you for following Big C Sports. We just had the great Claude Poussaint out of Canada by way of California and now Tennessee following the Big C Sports Podcast. He talked about this great movie called Victory by Submission. It's about guys who had some tough things in life. Fred the Hammer, part of that movie. Also, in the heat of the night, Alan Autry, part of that movie, former NFL football players. And the $6 million man, the former Lee Majors. So $6 million, why not be the $6 billion man, if that makes sense to you? It's all fair and love and war, $6 billion. They're going to manifest that in 2021. It's all fair and love and war. People think about Noah's Ark, A-R-K. When you think about the Noah's Ark, it's A-R-K. And the Ark brought over life, and it brought over, people. It also brought over livestock and hopes from the flood, and it brought people through the flood. And the movie, if you ever get a chance to see it, just Google Victory by Submission, the great Claude Poussaint, with so many great people, from athletes to actors, and also people in the world of the MMA. Big C Sports is also big on MMA. There's a lot of good things in it, and it's about men who fall and women who fall, and they have to find a way to get back on top. Everybody at some point in time, we are all like the person trying to cross the street. We just need someone to hold our hands. I remember my son's car tire had but it had a nail in the tire, so I took it by America's Tire, proud sponsor of the Big C Sports Podcast, and they fixed the tire for free. Yes, it was F-R-E-E. So I know how to spell, because they said it's free. I had to ask them twice. They said, yes, F-R-E-E, free. They fixed the tire for free. And at the meantime, I went over to a grocery store because it took a couple of hours. And I actually went over to the store. I'm not going to give the store a plug because they haven't paid for the sponsorship yet. Maybe they will. But I went over there and I bought some bananas and I bought a salad. It was a really good salad. And as I walked out of and I bought some chocolate. I love chocolate. And I walked out of the store. There was a lady with about 3 kids on the outside, and she had a sign, and it said, "Hungry, please help." And I think about what Christ said, "If you love me, feed my sheep." Not feed yourself the gluttony that we often have in this country. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm saying I did this. I took some bananas and some chocolate that I did not need. I was going to eat it all up anyway. And I gave it to the lady, and I gave it to her children. And so she said, "Thank you, God bless you." And I said, "You're welcome." I walked away. I got to the other side of the parking lot, which is just enough room for 2 cars to go north and south. So it may have taken me maybe 10 seconds. By the time I turned around, those kids had eaten those bananas. In fact, they were finishing up the bananas. I'm talking about kids that were probably 5 to 7 years old. And here we are in a $1 billion industry in sports, and in a grocery store that's probably a multi-million-dollar grocery store, and there are people in there. It's hard to buy anything, without money. But sometimes they give you away sample foods also. And here's this woman with her kids on the outside with a sign that's probably a good 2 feet by 2 feet saying, "Hungry, please help." So I gave her some bananas and some chocolate. And I walked over to get my son's car. This about an hour later, I was leaving the parking lot, and there was another lady. She had 1 child this time. I gave her some bananas, and I only had some water left over. So I gave her that. She said thank you in Spanish. And I was saying, poquito. I don't understand a lot of Spanish, but, you're welcome. And like bienvenido. I just want to say that everybody in some point in time, we're like the person trying to cross the street, and you just need someone to hold your hand. So I really appreciate Claude Poussaint and doing that movie that's going to help a lot of people dealing with hard times hold their hand. We're talking about the Olympics in 2021. We had on the great August Wesley yesterday, talking about the Olympics, how he's done so many great things, been a coach for 25 years and an athlete, also an Olympic champion, and being a part of the United States Olympic Committee and the World stage of the Olympics in Japan, and so he was on the Big C Sports podcast. He's already getting people from different countries saying that was a great program, Big C Sports podcast, all around the world. Remember, I was telling you, coming out of the grocery store today, I had some bananas and some chocolate. I really didn't need all of it. And there was a lady with a child, a couple of children actually, and I fed them. Well, while I was feeding them, would you believe that Big C Sports was being shared all over the world to different Olympic countries that I've never been to? All because, as Jesus said, if you love me, feed my sheep. And then God multiplies that. I know some people don't want to hear about religion. They just want to hear about themselves. But it's all fair and level where we all need somebody to lean on. And so I really appreciate the great quote, Croissant, for coming on to the Big C Sports podcast. I want to just touch all the way over to Japan. We talk about the 2021 Olympics and the officially underway after the COVID forced the Tokyo Games to be pushed back a year. Athletes from all over the world are now in Japan representing their respective nations, hoping to bring gold medals home, as well as some silver and some bronze. And you know how when you're in a hotel, and sometimes when I'm at Disneyland, I always check in, and when I check in, there's always more hotel towels than when I check out, if that makes sense to you. Like I'm the only one that's taking a hotel towel. But all the Olympians, they're hoping to not only get a medal, but to get the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. It goes great with the Budweiser Zero, so that way nobody gets in trouble. Budweiser Zero has 0% alcohol, and it's 100% honest game. It's all great in love and war. But the Olympics, when you think about the countries that are doing their thing, I know the men's basketball team, the United States, they're having a little bit of a hitch in their giddy up, but not really, because a lot of people all over the world, they have NBA players now. It's not like the days when we had the original Dream Team and everybody was trying to get autographed shoes as opposed to playing defense. And so now you're playing against NBA players, and they're all understanding it's a game they all wouldn't win. I just want to go down the Olympic count for medals. As of now, as I know, you have Japan. They have 10 goals. United States have 9 goals, followed by China with 9 goals. Russia has 7 goals. Great Britain has 4. And the Republic of Korea has 3. Australia has 3. Canada, they have 3 goals. Actually, 2 goals as of checked. France has 2 goals. Parlez-vous français. Germany has 2 goals. And then, Italy has 1. And there's a couple other countries. Brazil and Switzerland have 1. So I just wanted to give that out there for the United States in the gold medal count. But everybody's trying to win something. Whether you're trying to win a gold medal or get the Big C burger. When it comes to total gold medals, the United States has total is 9 goals, but they have total 25 medals overall, followed by China with 21 overall medals, and then Japan has 18 overall medals, as well as some other countries. Great Britain 13, Russia has 18, Australia has 9, Canada has 8, and then France has 7. Everybody has their own hopes and dreams to come true when it comes to the Olympics. I wish everybody nothing but the best, but a little bit of sad news when it comes to the United States Olympics. And I mean, obviously we want to wish everybody the best. We always talk about mental health. We do it for every show. But Simone Biles has pulled out of the Olympics. Everybody has this time delay, and we really don't know when things are happening because of how they control the media coming out of Japan. But when you think about it, we got to have people live by the examples for those you have influence over. Tell them more about God. Tell them about your children. And maybe they'll pass it on, and the world can start to change, like the great Michael Jackson said, make that change. We all got to make that change. And then some medical issues, whatever it is, hamstring, I don't know, but for her to pull out. And then you also have tennis star Naomi Osaka pull out. Both of them were really strong advocates for Black Lives Matter. And I just wish those young ladies nothing but the best. The Olympics is a lot of competition. There's a lot of mental strain, a lot of focus that goes into it. How can people be on the top of their game to become the best athletes in the universe? They're all trying to do that when all the countries compete in Japan to decide who's going to win that gold medal or that silver medal or that bronze, or who's going to get the Big C burger. We know it's a tasty burger. They know it comes with exotic meats, and it goes great with Budweiser Zero. It's 0% alcohol and 100% honest game. I know everybody's having fun with what they're going to do in the Olympics. The 2021 Olympics basketball team, they fell to France. They think about it. They fell to France in a close game, not expecting them to lose. And then carrying over its exhibition game issues in Tokyo, the loss marked the United States' first Olympic defeat since 2004 when it fell to both Puerto Rico and Lithuania in group play. It also snapped a 25-game Olympic winning streak. And for the United States, Drew Holiday, who's all fresh off an NBA championship with the Milwaukee Bucks, led Team USA in dropping 18.7 rebounds and 4 assists in the loss. And Bam Adebayo tackling, 12 points, 10 rebounds for the United States team, which now looks to rebound against Iran in its next matchup ahead of what should be a bounce-back game for Team USA. And everything you need to know about the games matchup, they're out there. You just got to Google them on the internet. The United States versus Iran, going to be Wednesday, July 28th. Now, the time is 12:40 a.m., depending on where you are. That's East Coast time. And then it's going to be in the Super Arena. I believe it's Samtoma Super Arena in Samtoma, Japan, live streaming by Fubo TV. And also we'll have some updates for you with Big C Sports Podcast. It's all fair and love and war. We're going to take what's called the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about what's going on in Hit Deep in the world of Major League Baseball. In the words of the great, in fact, Claude Poussaint, you mentioned his name. You didn't even know that. I didn't even know it. It's just timing, God's timing. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Effect TV, and also I want to just tell people, just speaking to that electronic device, oftentimes it's called Google or Alexa, just say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. We had Disney representative, the entertainment mogul, and they were on the program, Jezariah Matthews on Friday. Also had Lawrence Thompson had a great program with him, former NBA player and works with a lot of sports agents too. And then yesterday we had August Wesley, part of the Olympics, the 2021 Olympics. We'll have his son on. That's a championship wrestler. He'll be on the program tomorrow with Big C Sports. And so I just appreciate the volume of people who are willing to reach out and be a part of what we're doing with Big C Sports. I know everybody has their own hopes about who's going to win a game and who's going to do well in life. And I just hope that no matter who you are and where you are, that you put a little Olympic spirit into whatever you're doing and reach out and touch somebody that you can help. Not everybody has an Olympic champion in their life. Not everybody has someone that's going to reach out to them when they're going through things. I know Big C gives out that crisis hotline, and I just ask that whoever needs a little tune-up, a checkup from the neck up, reach out and call that crisis hotline, because everybody needs help sometime. And if you don't reach out and tell people, then you never really know if it's going to be the helpful thing to do. Let them know if the crisis hotline is available. I'm going to touch on some things today called the Major League Baseball. It's the power rankings. Just coming off of the All-Star break, there's so many people that are looking forward to who's going to win the second half of Major League Baseball. And I love looking at it where there's power rankings. It's just an opinion, and everybody has their own opinion, but I love doing that because it's how everybody tries to climb that ladder. Climbing the ladder of becoming the world champion, the World Series champion. Hopefully Big C Sports will be a part of that as we get closer to the game for October. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! The girls love the long ball. The men love hitting it deep. The great Scarface says, say hello to my little friend. That's what a lot of people say when they hit the ball deep. It's all fair and love and war. First place in Major League Baseball, the city by the bay. I left my heart in San Francisco and a couple of home runs too. The first place, San Francisco Giants. Well, the Giants mortgaged some of their deep farm system to make the short-term upgrades. They're going to have to do that coming into maybe down the stretch. You're trying to win the National League West. I'm going to also take you all the way across the country for the number 2 team in Big C's baseball power rankings. The Tampa Bay Rays, them good old boys. The Rays blurred in the line between buyer and seller last week, acquiring slugger Nelson Cruz from the Twins, and also while senior veteran left-hander Rich Hill to the Mets. That Tampa Bay team, they were right there in the thick of things last year with the defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers, and now they're looking at trying to get right back into the swing of things. Number 3, the pitch, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run! It hits the green monster. Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit it deep. The Boston Red Sox, after taking 3 of 4 from the New York Yankees over the weekend, the Red Sox are 10-3 against their rivals and 27-13 against the American League East. The great Chris Sale made his second rehab start of the AA Portland on Sunday and struck out 9 hitters in 3 2/3 innings. Also, down south, well, sometimes they say, Houston, we have liftoff. The Houston Astros, those good boys, the pitch, hit deep, center field, back to the wall, home run! It's all fair. 11 Wars, say hello to my little friend, the great Tony Montana and Scarface. The girls love the long ball, and men love hit the deep. The Houston Astros there, 34-20 at home after taking 2 of 3 from Cleveland. You know, Cleveland's changing their name to the Gladiators and sweeping the Rangers last week. It's all fair. And level 1, what a great job the great skipper Dusty Baker is doing down there near the Gulf. Also, number 5, you think about a lot of good things happening in the state of Wisconsin. Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Brewers, the pitch, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. It's all fair. In level war, they're not talking about Aaron Rodgers, but congratulations, the Milwaukee Bucks, the 2021 NBA champions with King Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is all fair. In level war, I know some people hate calling a beautiful black man a king, but I'll call him a king and a prince. It's all fair in level war. I want to say the Milwaukee Brewers outscored the Chicago White Sox 14-5 in a weekend series win, and they will face the last place Pirates in 9 of the next 19 games. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world of Major League Baseball. Also, Big C's, the top 10 Major League Baseball power rankings, the defending world champion, Los Angeles Dodgers, the pitch, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit it deep. It's all fair in level war. The Dodgers are 8-9 since July 4th. They've dropped 3 of the last 4. Division-leading Giants are doing their thing, whipping them up at home at Chavez Ravine, and what was a golden opportunity in the Golden State to seize the number 1 spot. But the Giants said, not so fast, my friend. It's all fair in level war. The San Francisco Giants are looking like they're on a path to the World Series, just like crossing the Golden Gate, the beautiful entry to California from the Pacific Ocean. Number 7, Tony La Russa. He may be taking more naps than anybody in the history of the universe. That matters is a Major League Baseball team. But the Chicago White Sox, the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. The Chicago White Sox 21-28 record against teams that are over 500, including 2 losses in 3 games at the Brewers over the weekend. So the question remains about their ability to beat good teams. Tony La Russa's done his thing with the Oakland A's. He's done his thing with the St. Louis Cardinals. And now that good boy is trying to do his thing with the Chicago White Sox. And now we go down to the beautiful city of San Diego, California on the Pacific Ocean. The San Diego Padres, the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! The great Fernando Tatis goes yard again. Say hello to my little friend, the great Tony Montana with Scarface. The women love the long ball, men love to hit it deep. The addition of versatile all-star Adam Frazier gave the Padres a lot of options that could shake Jay Collinsworth to first base in place of underperforming Eric Holmes. I mean, it's all fair in loving war, but Hoffman's going to do okay, and we'll just see what happens. Matters as always change things up. I know if you go way up north to the Crescent City, the Seattle Mariners, the pitch, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. Great Scarface, Tony Montana. If you watch Scarface, not a clean movie for kids, but definitely one that men understand when they say hit deep. It's all fair level war, and the women love the long ball, men love to hit deep. The Seattle Mariners, think about the Seattle Mariners. Seattle's known for football and fishing, but the Mariners were 23-11 since June 12th. Entering play on Monday, good for a second-best record in baseball during that span, with a chance to snap a playoff drought that stretches back to 2001. There was a movie called 2001, A Space Odyssey, and the Seattle Mariners are doing their thing. We go over to the Big Apple, where they have rats that are bigger than apples. And I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. It's all fair and level war. Rats as big as apple. The pitch hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friend. And the ball hit a rat. If you can believe that, Dixie. A rat was trying to grab the home run, hit over the fence. A rat tried to jump up and knock some popcorn out of the hands of a fan. It's all fair and level war. And they say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit it deep. The New York Mets with Jacob deGrom. The Mets maintain their hold atop the National League East. And when you think about it, with the win, a series win over the Reds and the Blue Jays last week, they also added veteran left-hander Rich Hill in a trade with the Rays. They're doing so good. If they say so good, it's all fair and level war. In fact, some people said they hit the ball so deep, put the butt to sleep, the great Ice Cube. They couldn't wait to call Ice Cube the Top Gun. Well, I love listening to that song, the great Ice Cube. It's all fair and level war. I'm going to pay homage to a few more baseball teams because they're doing a great job, even if they're not in the top 10, Big C's top 10. But also Big C's, maybe top 15. The Oakland A's of City by the Bay, the pitch hit deep. Center field, back to the wall, home run, and it hits Mount Davis. They talk about building a new stadium in Oakland. Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball, the men love to hit it deep. Instead of building a new billion-dollar stadium in Oakland, how about just tear down Mount Davis, and that way you can see beautiful pictures of the East Bay, the same way they did when they won 3 World Series back in the day. The Oakland A's, 3 straight losses at the Seattle Mariners over the weekend. It trimmed the Athletics' lead to just 1.5 games, 1.5 games. And when you think about it, there's so much going on for the Mariners, and they're fighting out for the American League West. I look at the Oakland A's, they've been winning, like victory by submission. We heard about the movie with the great Louis Croissant, and the Oakland Athletics, they've been victory by subtraction because they've had one of the lowest payrolls in Major League Baseball. Also, the Cincinnati Reds, the pitch hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball and men love hit the deep. I love Major League Baseball. You can tell by the sound of my voice, the great Chris Tucker. Can you tell the words that are coming out of my mouth? It's all fair in level war. The Cincinnati Reds, the Reds came a long way with the 3-3 split last week, dropping 2 of 3 to the Mets before picking up a series win over the Cardinals. Losing Nick Castellanos to a fractured right wrist early this month was a major blow for them good old boys in Cincinnati. Remember the movie, I think it was a TV show called WKRP in Cincinnati. I remember watching that a long time ago when I was a young boy. All fair and level war. I know people might laugh at this selection, but you gotta have faith. There was a good old boy that sang about you gotta have faith. And after you've done all that you can, just stand. I mean, CeCe Wine is amazing. But the New York Yankees, I'm not just talking about the big rats that they got to get through just to get to the ballpark, but the New York Yankees, the pitch hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. The girls love the long ball, men love to hit it deep. And when you hit it deep in Yankee Stadium, you know you're going to find a couple of rats that buy tickets and some rats that sneak into the ballpark. And I'm serious about the rat problem at New York City. They need to clean that up. I know they've heard of some raid. Doesn't raid have rat repellent? Some kind of rat repellent. But 3 losses in 4 games against the rival Red Sox over the weekend, including blowing a 4-0 lead and a no-hitter and a 5-4 loss Sunday night. It might have been the final nail for the Yankees in 2021. But the team is not good enough to justify mortgaging the team long-term. But I still think they have a good enough team to hit somebody upside the head when they hit it deep. Toronto Blue Jays, number 14, coming out of the great country of Canada. Oh, Canada, the great Louis Croissant is from Canada. The Toronto Blue Jays by way of Buffalo, New York. The Blue Jays, the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! And maybe they even hit the ball deep into the falls in beautiful Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls. It's all fair and level war. But the Blue Jays, again, they've been away from Canada. I think they're going to go back at the end of the month or maybe in sometime in August. But the Blue Jays came out of the All-Star break with a convincing sweep of the Rangers before suffering a pair of losses to the Boston Red Sox. And the Red Sox are red hot. I'm telling you, the Red Sox are going to be making the noise in the ALCS. It's just my opinion. But the You can't look past Toronto. They've been doing their thing and they've been displaced. The final team in the city of brotherly love, the pitch hit deep. Right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. The great Tony Montana, Scarface. The girls love the long ball, and men love hitting the deep. It's all fair in love and war. The Philadelphia city, the city of brotherly love. President of Baseball Operations, Dave Dombrowski, said the Philadelphia Phillies would be aggressive, and there's always people trying to be aggressive. They make the phone call to the bullpen. Right on cue, they made the phone call to the bullpen, and they got some batters out. It makes sense. But they said they're going to be aggressive at the trade deadline, and while they have honored around 500 of the most, you think about it, 500 most of the year. That's too much money for that roster to be coming in right around 500. I wish them good old boys nothing but the best. That's Big C's thought on Major League Baseball, and I hope that everybody, if you're out there trying to enjoy Major League Baseball, go out and see a game. I know we have the Olympics going on. We just got out of crowning the NBA champion, and now we have football reporting to camp. Everybody's reporting to camp for NFL football. They're going to be doing that between tomorrow, definitely by Wednesday. Everybody's going to be, as far as Major League Baseball, doing their thing. But NFL football is going to take over the consciousness of what people pay attention to, because everybody loves NFL football. No matter what you're doing with any other sport, we have the Olympics going on. Sometimes people can't tell when the Olympics start or when it ends, but there's always this thing about the NFL that is always the king of sports. It's just 44 days away from kickoff, and we have, good news for Green Bay. Aaron Touchdown Rodgers, he decided to come back and be a part of his team. And so no matter what happens with NFL football, you have the marquee players there. Aaron Rodgers is good news coming back to Green Bay, as Big C said he would. There are a lot of pundits out there that were saying that he was going to go elsewhere, but that's not the case at all. He stayed where he was. The Vini Vidi Vici, he came, he saw, he conquered, and that's what he's trying to do in the world of NFL football. So with everybody reporting to camp now, there's all the talk about who's going to be like the power teams in NFL football. Everybody's thinking about Tampa Bay. Will the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, will they be able to repeat and get back to the Super Bowl? It's hard to get back. Even Kansas City, they got back last year after defeating the 49ers the year before in Super Bowl 54. They got back to the big dance in Super Bowl 55, but they were not able to come away with Lombardi's trophy. Now you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everybody's favorite, not everybody's favorite, but a lot of people are picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to repeat as Super Bowl champions. But they are not as strong of a repeat selection that the Kansas City Chiefs were just last season. So it's always easy to say someone's going to win or someone's going to be the favorite team going into it. But it's a lot harder than what it appears to be, at least in writing. When you think about it, it's hard not to see that Kansas City Chiefs lost Super Bowl 55. Their banged-up offensive line was manhandled by Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The line was the biggest priority in the offseason, and they tried to rebuild that for Kansas City. But if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. I mean, Tony Montana, he was down in Miami, Florida, so they ain't got to worry about anything being broken, if that makes sense to you. I know it's an inside joke. The man who wrecked the buffet at the Hera Club this morning is just an inside joke. It's all fair and level well. But the Tampa Bay, the city of champions, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the Super Bowl champions. The team's only outside signing, of note, was running back Giovanni Bernard. All 22 starters from the squad that thrashed the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. They are back. They are back and probably even stronger than last year. The last game they lost was to Kansas City, and that game was actually in Tampa in the regular season. They were down big, and they made a strong comeback. And, the great LL Cool J says, don't call it a comeback. They said it wasn't a comeback. It was just the way they did things. But head coach Bruce Arians asking anything, saying don't take anything for granted. And they won't take anything for granted. Tom Brady last year played with a hitch in his giddy-up. He's back, and it seems to be as strong as ever. And I think he's not quite as old as Methuselah, but he's probably cracking close to it. It's all fair in love and war. But back to the number 2 team. I'm still going to put Tampa as number 1. Number 2 team in Big C's NFL top 10, preseason. It's just going into the preseason. Kansas City Chiefs, hard to see them not being one of the top 2 teams in the league. Their offensive line was the biggest priority in the offseason. It's rebuilt it. There's new left tackle, and 2-time Pro Bowler Orlando Brown Jr. and a new guard in Joe Tuning. and LeBron doing already. Tardif is returning after sitting out the 2020 season to try to help out people in the medical industry. They should offer touchdown Patrick Mahomes ample time to find Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce downfield. It's all fair and level war. That team is still, they're like a lightning bolt. They can score at will, it seems, the Kansas City Chiefs. And when you think about it, are you ready for some football? A lot of people are. Don't laugh. Not so fast, my friend. Some people say the Buffalo Bills, going to put them in the top 3 right now. The Buffalo Bills tied a franchise record with 13 regular season wins in 2020, made the AFC title game, quarterback touchdown Josh Allen out of Fireball, California by way of, I believe, in Kings River College, also Wyoming University, doing his thing for the Buffalo Bills, setting the NFL ablaze. Those good old boys, when you think about it, quarterback Josh Allen led charge, completing almost 70% of his passes, 4,544 yards, 37 touchdowns on his way to a run-up finish for MVP voting. He has touchdown Stephon Diggs trying to grab the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger and it comes with exotic meats. You only get the Big C burger for scoring touchdown. He got to score a touchdown. It's all fair in level war. The Cleveland Browns, don't laugh. I know Jim Brown is not playing this year, but he will be probably on the sidelines or in the press box watching. But this Cleveland Browns team, some people might say Cleveland's not going to go anywhere. They got to get past Pittsburgh. They got to get past Baltimore. But they have the best offensive line, arguably, in the AFC. And they have the best 1-2 backfield punch of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They return a healthy Odell Beckham Jr., gives Baker Mayfield a solid passing game. They got to realize, turn around and hand the ball off. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Ask Pete Carroll if he should turn around and hand the ball off to the best running back in the universe. He should have given the ball to Marshawn Lynch, and they would have had another Super Bowl down when they lost to New England. But it's all fair and level war. If they can learn anything in Cleveland, do what Pete Carroll should have done. Turn around and hand the ball off to beast mode. In the national championship game in 2005, he had Reggie Bush on the sideline for 3rd and 4th down. The guy was averaging 5 yards a carry, and you didn't have Bush in the game when you needed 1 yard to win a national championship. All fair and level war. They gave it to Lindell White twice. Green Bay Packers, Lambeau Field. If you ever in your life get a chance to see Lambeau Field, you got to see it. The Green Bay Packers going to put them, with touchdown Aaron Rodgers coming to camp, going to put them at number 5 now. When you think about it, Aaron Rodgers, touchdown Aaron Rodgers, and the team, they've mended fences. You know, a lot of people mend fences because it's the right thing to do going forward, at least for now. It's not known exactly when the 2020 NFL MVP will show up for camp. But that good old boy, you look at what they did last year in Titletown. The Packers has won 13 games and reached the NFC title games in back-to-back years. That's incredible. You know who they had snapping the ball to? Touchdown Aaron Rodgers. It's amazing. 1st and goal. 4 wideouts. 5-man front. The snap. Rodgers rolling to his right. Rolling. Looking, throws to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown! Green Bay Packers. Devontae Adams. They should have did that last year playing against Tampa, and they may have gone on to the Super Bowl. It's all fair in level war. Number 6 in Big C's NFL preseason power rankings, the Baltimore Ravens. The Raven is a tasty bird. It's an exotic meat. I can't confirm or deny if it's on the Big C burger, but there are a lot of butterflies flying around. I can't confirm or deny if they're on the Big C burger either, but it's all fair in level war. Superman Jackson. Lamar Jackson, in 3 seasons, Superman Jackson has already made a dent in the NFL. He's led the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs 3 times. He was the league MVP in 2019 when he set a league record, when you think about it, for rushing yards by a quarterback last year. He won his first playoff game and became the first signal caller in NFL history to top 1,000 rushing yards in consecutive seasons. That's something to clap for. That good boy did a good thing, and now he's just going to learn to pass better. The Ravens are hoping that the players around Jackson will help make the next step as a passer. The new wide receiver and veteran Sammy Watkins should be a star. And then rookie Rashad Bateman should also be a star for that good boy to throw the ball to. Also, Big C's NFL power rankings. It is preseason, so you guys hold your horses. Number 7, the Los Angeles Rams. I love LA. Them good boy Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are the first team to make a major offseason splash in 2021, and they mortgaged the future by trading 2 first-rounders in 2022 and 2023. a 2021 third-rounder and quarterback Jared Goff, who led them to the Super Bowl, to the Detroit Lions for a veteran signal caller Matthew Stafford. Never won a playoff game, but right now you only get one shot. The great Eminem, you only get one shot. You get one shot, Matthew Stafford. It's all fair and level war, joining the team with a talented offense. And when you think about it, Cam Akers' season-ending Achilles tear, I mean, that's really sad. I hate the fact that he's a battering ram, no pun intended, a battering ram. They're not going to have his help for this year for the Rams, but it's all fair and level war. Also rounding out Big C's NFL Top 10 preseason, the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry, he's a runaway freight train. 3rd and goal. 5-yard line. They run it right with Henry. Henry to the corner of the end zone. Finds the goal line. Touchdown! Tennessee Titans. And Henry has topped 200 yards on the day. Feed that man like he's eating the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meat. You got to feed touchdown Derrick Henry. Not many teams made a bigger offseason wave in 2021. The Tennessee Titans acquired Pro Bowl receiver, the great Julio Touchdown Jones. That good boy has made their offense a lot better from the Atlanta Falcons, and that addition gives them the making of a truly frightening offense. You have runaway freight train Derrick Henry, and you have a guy that he runs like he's in the Olympics, the great Julio Jones. It's all fair and level one. Don't forget A.J. Brown. He's a weight room debonair, and that good boy doing his thing. The Titans have a defense that ranked 28th in the league. That's not good. They got to fix that, but their offense should be on top of the world when it comes to NFL football. Number 9 in Big C's NFL Power Rankings. It is sitting on the dock of the bay. You left your heart in San Francisco. How about 5 championships you leave in San Francisco with the 49ers? There may not be a more fascinating team entering the camp of the 2021 San Francisco 49ers. I will be live at the training camp for the 49ers coming up in August. It's all fair and level war. 2 years ago, they repped the NFC in Super Bowl 54. Last year, in an injury-ravaged season, missed the playoffs altogether, but they were still in it right down to the final week. If all holds up, potentially, it was an interesting offseason. I know we have some things going on with some players that may or may not be a part of the team for whatever reason, wishing Richard Sherman the best. But you have veteran quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's 22-8 overall. You have Trey Lance, who's going to be a backup also. And then the return of 23-year-old edge rusher Nick Bosa, which is absolutely a phenomenal pass rusher. Had an ACL, may mean even more for San Francisco to bounce back in their chances. Their defense is chasing down another fistful of gold. They got to put another ring on the opposite finger of the San Francisco 49ers. Them good boys are going to be loaded this year. They can run the ball, but the 49ers injury luck has been terrible since Kyle Shanahan took over as the head coach. And maybe, just maybe, this year things will turn around. They just went 6-10 in 2020, tying for 5th worst in the NFL record. Yet it has to be viewed as having the best odds to win the division this year, even if the NFC West is absolutely loaded. It's very loaded. The San Francisco 49ers, they will get the Big C burger. They know it's a tasty burger. They know it comes with exotic meats, and we cannot confirm or deny if pigeons are part of the exotic meats, but they will come in and grab the hamburger out of your hand if you're over there at Levi Stadium in beautiful Santa Clara, California. Still call it San Francisco. Rounding out Big C's top 10 NFL preseason power rankings. Hold your horses, some good old boys. Number 10, the Seattle Seahawks up in the great Northwest. They have Russell Houdini Wilson coming in at number 10 at Quest Field. It's all fair in love and war. I remember there was a play in Seattle in the playoffs. It was about 1st and 10 from the 50-yard line, 4 wideouts, 5-man defense, and then Russell Wilson back to pass. The snap, he's rolling to his right. He's looking, throws downfield, and it's caught for the touchdown by DK Metcalf. You'll hear more of that this year as touchdown Russell Houdini Wilson can spin it like none other. Now, much of the offseason conversation surrounding the Seahawks centered around Russell Houdini Wilson, maybe wanting out of Seattle. He never wanted out of Seattle. He just wanted the Big C burger. He knows it was a tasty burger. He knows it comes with exotic meats, but they kept giving him fish. He said, this ain't the Big C burger, this is fish. Well, sometimes fish can be a part of the Big C burger, but you look at Seattle's offense, it trailed off down the stretch last year, had a torch start, but the Seahawks didn't score with the best of them. Davenport's concerned about the team's Super Bowl host. Lying the other side of the ball, the great Jamal Adams, one of the game's best safeties, in the addition of Kerry Hyder Jr., should help the pass rush. But when you think about the loss of Shaquille Griffin, it raises serious doubts about the Seahawks. ranked 31st last year in the NFC West, and that's not good enough. But you know the great Pete Carroll, that's a good old boy that knows how to coach. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won a couple of national championships down at USC for the Trojans. It's all fair and level war. I love what's going on in the world of football. The NFL is amazing. It is fantastic. There's so many things to be happy about in the world of sports. I know with the NFL and their response to COVID, how will people deal with COVID? I guess you can forfeit games if players test positive for COVID. Not everybody is vaccinated. Some players don't want to get vaccinated. Some players do want to get vaccinated. Roger Goodell is going to have to figure that out, and he will figure it out. It's just a matter of time. College football figured it out for some teams that play spring ball. You know, they'll figure it out in the NFL. I'm going to talk more about it in the week, how the NFL is going to figure out this COVID thing. Just deal with it on a player-by-player situation. Don't penalize the whole team if someone tests positive for COVID-19. You don't want to do that. It's not the other player's fault if 1 or 2 players test positive. You can be vaccinated and still test positive for COVID-19, even though you may not have the same side effects. So I would hope that the commissioner and the NFL Players Association answering questions around training camp in 2021 and COVID-19 protocols. When you think about it, the training camps this summer is going to be unlike any other in league history. They're going to represent a hybrid between the tightly restricted version we saw in 2020 and the league began its journey in 2019. You know, it's all fair and level where COVID made everybody have to go on pause. We all go on pause every now and then in life, but you also rise and shine. And I'm looking forward to great things happening in the NFL. I want to thank the great Floyd Poulson out of Canada by way of California and Tennessee for following Big C Sports, and the great Alan Autry, Fred the Dean Hammer, and also Lee Majors of Victory by Submission, some great MMA fighters. You heard it on Big C Sports Podcast. We're all around the world. I appreciate all the growth that's coming with Big C Sports. As my mama always said, you got to rise and shine. Everybody got to rise and shine. No matter what you do, just make sure you rise and shine. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali what I tell everyone that's listening. You float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young men rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? And as I always say, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe? I'm telling everybody, we started with the Olympics in Japan. A lot of good old athletes are trying to do their best. They don't quit. And then we started with the great Claude Poussin, Victory by Submission. And it's a great movie. Just Google it. And then Big C Sports covering Major League Baseball, as well as the Olympics and NFL football. It's all fair and level war. You can find Victory When You Don't Submit every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to the National Olympic Committee. And the great August Wesley, all fair and level war. As my mama always said, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.